Hey guys, Miss Oliver here. I am homesick today. I woke up this morning very early with a fever, so I decided it was probably better if I didn't come to school today. And I hate that I'm out, especially since we're starting a new chapter today, but I know that you guys will be in good hands, and I figured I'd make it a little bit easier on whoever is in our room today by going ahead and recording our lesson. And I've told this sub that at any point, if you need her to pause the video, just raise your hand. I was not able to get fill-in-the-blank notes printed out for everybody, so if you usually get those, sorry, just take them on your own, but let her know if you need to pause the video. After the video, you'll be doing some classwork and homework, so just be prepared for that. And as always, over the weekend, if you need to ask me any questions, just let me know, shoot me an email. All right, so in this chapter, we're going to be looking more at different types of shapes. And this section in particular, we're going to be looking at how to find the area of rectangles and parallelograms. Okay, so first, we're going to look at the area of a rectangle. I'm going to look at how to find the area of a rectangle. Okay, so on your paper, go ahead and just draw a rectangle. Okay, now when we're talking about the area of a rectangle, we have to know the difference between the long side and the shorter side. So the long side is going to be our length, which is usually signified with a cursive L, since a normal printed L looks like a 1. So the longer side is going to be your length, and your shorter side is going to be your width. Okay? So we need to know the length, and we need to know the width. And in this box over here, you're going to write the formula for finding the area of a rectangle, which A stands for area. So area equals the length times the width, or the length multiplied by the width. And this applies to squares as well. The difference is when you have a square, you notice that the length and the width are actually the same, and that's fine, because you know a square has all 4 sides are equal, but you find the area the same way. You do the length times the width. Okay, so let's look at an example. Let's find the area of this rectangle. Let's say it is 8 meters wide and 13 meters long. Okay, so remember our formula for calculating the area is area equals length times width. So then I just have to plug in the numbers I've given to find the area. So the length, which remember is the longer side, is going to be 13 meters. So I'm going to plug in 13 for length. And the width is going to be 8 meters. So I'm going to plug in 8 for the width. And then all I have to do is multiply them together. So in your calculator, you would plug in 13 times 8. And you should get 104. But remember, we've got to include our units. Okay, so it's 104 meters. And when we're talking about area, we have to remember to write it as meters squared. Okay? And the reason for that is that we don't just have one side that's 13 meters and one side that's 8 meters. We've got two. There's 2 sides that are 8 meters, 2 sides that are 13 meters. So that's why we have to write meters squared. Okay? So pretty simple. Just always, 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 when you're finding the area, remember to put your unit squared. If you don't, I will deduct points on a future quiz or test. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. Let's start with A. So you may not always be given the shape, like a picture of the shape. They may just go ahead and tell you what the length and the width is and that they want you to find the area. And in that case, it's pretty easy. So this example tells you the length is 24 inches and the width is 9 inches. And if the area, the A, has a question mark behind it, then that must mean that's what they want us to find. So I'm going to go ahead and write the equation to find the area, and then I'm going to plug in what I know. I know the length is 24 inches, and I know the width is 9 inches. Okay? And then when I multiply those together, I should get 216. But the answer is not just 216. The answer is 216 inches squared. So that will be your completed answer. Okay? So this really isn't too bad compared to other things we've done. This unit, or this chapter, should be a lot easier for a lot of you than the last one we just took a test on. Alright, so let's look at another example. So sometimes we're not going to just be given the length and the width. Sometimes we might be given the area and the length, and then they want us to find the width. Or they might give us the area and the width, and they want us to find the length. So really, it's not that much more complicated. You would just remember to copy the equation down, and the more you do this, you copy the equation down every time, the easier you're going to remember it. It's just going to be repetition and memorizing these equations. And that's probably going to be the hardest part when you go take your test, is remembering what equations to use with which shapes. So I would suggest writing it down every time. Okay? So now, like I did before, I just need to plug in what I know. So if the area is 48, I need to plug that in for A. And I'm given the length is 8. And it looks like I'm looking for the width. So I don't have anything to plug in for the width. Okay, so if I multiply the length and the width, I should just get 8W, or 8 times the width. And we know how to solve for a variable. Sorry about that. We know how to solve for a variable. We just need to divide to get that variable by itself. And then we would get our answer for the width, which 48 divided by 8 should give us 6. And it would be 6 inches. You've got to make sure you include your units. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys a minute to catch up if you haven't. I'm going to take a sip of water because I am very much not feeling great right now. Alright, so finding the area of a rectangle or a square, pretty easy. You just multiply the length times the width. Okay? So the other thing we're going to look at is finding the area of parallelograms. Okay? And this is kind of a long word. You're finding the area of parallelograms. Alright, so a parallelogram basically looks like that. It's kind of like a rectangle. Oh, excuse me. It's kind of like a rectangle, but the sides are slanted. Okay? So there's two parallel sides. Well, there's two sets of parallel sides, but one of them is going to be slanted. Okay? So in order to find the area of a parallelogram, first we need to know the different parts of this shape. So this right here, this dotted line, is going to represent our height. That dotted line will represent our height. And then the two sides, the longer of the two sides, are going to represent your base, and they should be the same length. Okay? So that bottom side, or the longer of those parallel sides, is going to be the base. Okay, so with finding the area of a parallelogram, our formula, which you can write over in this box, is going to be area is equal to the base times the height. So it's very similar to finding the area of a rectangle, but instead of the length times the width, since it's slanted, we've got to look at the base times the height. Okay, so let's look at an example. Go ahead and jot down this parallelogram. So I would suggest just drawing one side on the top and then drawing your slanted sides and then connecting them at the bottom. And then you want to make sure you draw this dotted line with a right angle to show that that's your height. Basically, the height connects the top and the bottom of the parallelogram. Okay, so let's say our height is 3 meters and our base is 5 meters. Again, I would suggest writing the formula down every time you go to solve for the area. It's going to help you remember. Repetition is the best way to remember this stuff. Okay, so if the area equals the base times the height, I'm looking for the area. And my base is going to be this side right here, 5 meters. So I'm going to plug in a 5. And my height is going to be 3 meters. Okay? So then, like we did to calculate the area of a rectangle, we just multiply those together. And you guys know 5 times 3 is 15. But remember, we have to include our units so that our complete answer should be 15 meters squared. Okay? So really not any more difficult than finding the area of a rectangle. We're just using a slightly different shape and a different formula. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. So let's say they give us the base, which is 14 meters, and the height, which is 5 meters, and they want us to find the area. Again, I would write the formula for area of a parallelogram, and then you're going to plug in what you know. So the area is equal to the base times the height. My base is 14. My height is going to be 5. And when I multiply those together, I should get 70. And remember to add your unit. So it's going to be 17 meters squared. Okay? So not too bad. And like the second example we looked at for finding the area of a rectangle, we could also be given the area and the base, or the area and the height, and then have to solve for the missing value. Okay, so here they give us the area and the base, and they want us to find the height. So again, write your formula down every time. Okay, so we're given the area, so I'm going to plug in 72 for the A. I'm given the base, which is 6, and I don't know the height, so I don't have anything to plug in. Okay, so then I would multiply, and I would get 72 equals 6 times h. And just like before, to solve for the variable, we're going to divide both sides by 6. So our final answer, or our value for the height, should be 12 inches. Okay, and in case you were curious, whenever we're solving for the base or the height, we don't write inches squared. That's only with the area. All right? Okay, so what I want you to do now for classwork, go ahead and jot this down. You're going to get your books and turn to page 352. And you're going to work through numbers 4 through 10. You're going to do all of them. This is only 6 problems. So if you sometimes do the evens or odds, you need to do all of them. Okay? If you finish your classwork, your homework is going to be on that same page, page 352. And let me double check so I know exactly which ones I want you to do for homework. It's not a lot. I want you to do numbers 14 through 20. And again, do all of them. Okay? This should not be difficult. Okay, if you finish both of those before class is over, there is a worksheet that I want you to do. Okay? And at that point, you just need to do as much as you can. If you can finish it, great. If not, don't worry about it. It's just for you to get extra practice. Okay? All right, so that should set you guys up pretty well for today. I'm hoping that I'll be back on Monday. I'm going to really try to rest and get well this weekend. Oh, excuse me. Be good for the sub. Work on your own. This is not group work. This should be done on your own. Okay? They will write down anyone who gives them trouble. So be on your best behavior. All right? I miss you guys. Be good today, and I hope to see you on Monday.